I was tightening the last bolt on my new mailbox when I heard that sharp click of high heels against concrete each step like a countdown to trouble. I turned, and there she was, marching straight toward me with a clipboard clutched like a weapon. Meredith Caldwell. Lips pressed so tight they looked like they could slice glass. I had only lived in Pine Brook for 3 months, and already she was at my driveway barking, "That mailbox isn't HOA approved." 3 days later, I was served papers. Sued for living outside of an HOA I didn't even belong to. My name is Lucas Danner, and all I wanted was a quiet life. I bought a cozy ranch-style house on a cul-de-sac thinking I'd escaped all the HOA nonsense I'd heard about. This street was never annexed, not once. But that didn't matter to Meredith. She was the kind of HOA president who treated a clipboard like a crown and every resident like her subjects. She pointed at my mailbox like it was a federal crime citing some section of HOA code I wasn't under. When I told her the truth that my property predated the HOA by decades, her nostrils flared. "You'll be hearing from our lawyer," she hissed. I laughed it off, thinking no one could be that delusional. Turns out I underestimated just how far Meredith would go. The lawsuit landed on my porch in a crisp manila envelope. According to her, I was in violation of neighborhood harmony and owed over $5,000 in back dues. Imagine opening your mail and discovering you've been fined thousands of dollars by a club you never signed up for. My first reaction was disbelief, then anger. Who the hell sues someone for not belonging to them? But the anger gave me clarity. If Meredith wanted a fight, I'd fight with paperwork. I pulled everything my Deed County Assessor Records zoning maps from before I graduated high school. All of it proved the same thing: my street was never ever part of Pine Brook Greens. I even uncovered something worse. The HOA had voted to expand their borders last year, but they never filed the change with the county. In other words, legally, their so-called expansion never existed. I walked into small claims court armed with a folder thick enough to make a judge's bench wobble. The judge asked Meredith a simple question. "Did your HOA file a boundary amendment with the county?" She tried to bluff. "We voted on it." The judge pressed, "That's not what I asked." Silence. Then finally, no. The case was dismissed in under 3 minutes. 3 minutes. Just like that, Meredith's power crumbled in front of everyone. I walked out grinning, clutching my papers like a trophy. But here's the thing about people like Meredith: they don't quit when they lose. They double down. When I got home, 2 things were waiting. A letter duct-taped to my garage written in a furious scrawl that read like a ransom note. And 2 unfamiliar SUVs parked across the street-tinted windows, staring into my house. No one got out, but I could feel their eyes. My stomach knotted. That's when the bravado drained out of me. This wasn't about a mailbox anymore. This was intimidation. And it worked. For the first time since this nonsense started, I doubted myself. Maybe I should have just taken the mailbox down. Maybe I should have avoided all this. I lay awake at night thinking about my family, wondering if I'd painted a target on us over a piece of metal on a post. Meredith had turned my life into a siege. I felt alone, exposed, and stupid for pushing back. But the next morning at the city building department, a clerk named Raj showed me something that flipped the script. Meredith had filed a brand-new request, an expedited zoning change to expand her HOA's reach right into my street. It was shady, rushed, and signed off by someone I recognized from old city council minutes: James Winthrop, a former HOA board member now sitting inside City Hall. This wasn't just Meredith anymore. She had backup people with power. That realization didn't crush me. It lit me up. If she wanted to play dirty, I'd go 5 steps ahead. I brought the evidence to Councilman Valdez, a straight Aero Navy vet turned politician. He studied the documents, leaned back, and said, "They're trying to create precedent. Even if it's illegal, if no one stops it, it sticks." He told me the zoning request would go before the commission and I had to show up and speak. The night of the meeting, the chamber was packed. Meredith sat front and center with her HOA cronies in matching green polos, whispering like vultures. When my name was called, I stepped to the mic. My hands shook, but I steadied them with the remote for my slides. On the screen flashed zoning maps, assessor records, the HOA's own charter. Then the kicker photos of those SUVs, the police report I'd filed, and the duct-taped letter. I said, "This zoning request isn't just improper, it's dangerous." It was pushed through without notifying residents, expedited by a former HOA board member now sitting in the city attorney's office, and designed to target homes outside their jurisdiction. This isn't about beautification. It's about control. A low murmur swept through the crowd. Meredith's face went pale. The commission voted unanimously to reject the request. But the real avalanche was still coming. A former HOA board member, Gregory Hensley, reached out to me. Over greasy fries at a diner, he told me Meredith had been hiding financial records, funneling money through fake contracts, and sending it all to a company run by her cousin. Landscaping jobs that never happened, repairs billed but never completed, tens of thousands siphoned off. Suddenly, it wasn't about my mailbox. It was about embezzlement, fraud, maybe worse. I turned the evidence over to Officer Daniels, a no-nonsense cop with a buzz cut. Within days, subpoenas went out. The audit came back ugly, over $70,000 missing, bogus invoices, cash withdrawals that led straight to Meredith. The evening news showed her in handcuffs, refusing to answer questions as she was led out of her house. For a moment, I thought it was over. But Meredith was just the tip of the iceberg. The deeper investigators dug, the more connections surfaced. Dennis Halpern, a real estate investor with a history of coercive property deals, had been buying up foreclosed homes connected to HOA harassment schemes. And James Winthrop. He wasn't just expediting zoning changes, he was getting kickbacks to do it. The FBI stepped in, connecting dots across counties, even states. The day I testified before the County Oversight Committee, I looked around and realized I wasn't just defending myself anymore. Dozens of homeowners sat behind me, people who'd been bullied, fined, and even forced from their homes. My voice cracked, but I kept going. They didn't just steal money, they stole trust. They weaponized rules to make families believe they had no choice but to give up. And unless we build safeguards, it'll happen again. The room was silent, then erupted in agreement. The committee established a countywide HOA accountability board with resident seats and subpoena power. For the first time, the bullies with clipboards weren't untouchable. The federal case was even bigger. Racketeering charges. RICO. Meredith Halpern Winthrop. They all stood trial. I took the stand, walked the jury through my story, and showed them how a simple mailbox fight uncovered an entire criminal enterprise. The defense tried to paint me as bitter, but the evidence crushed them. Surveillance photos, forged documents, bank transfers to offshore accounts. It was all there. The verdicts came fast. Halpern got 18 years. Meredith 12. Winthrop 5. Others got lesser sentences, but the machine they built was dismantled. And for once, the law didn't just slap wrists, it tore the whole rotten structure down. When the gavel fell, I didn't cheer. I didn't smile. I just sat there breathing. Months of fear, doubt, rage, it all drained out in that moment. Meredith's empire of intimidation had collapsed in front of the same system she thought she controlled. And that's where my story ends. Not with a party, not with a parade, just with justice. Because sometimes the smallest battles, a mailbox, a driveway, a flagpole, are the ones that prove the biggest point. If you don't stand up, they'll walk all over you.